Hi, welcome back. In this portion, I'm going to show you how to create an object to be used for your basic animation. Uh, doesn't matter what the object is, but I'm going to show you how you can create it and then save it out and then import it into your video editor without a background. So it's just the object itself. So it's very important that you follow these procedures here. So first thing we'll do is we'll go into our editing program. GIMP or Photoshop's fine. Start a new file. I'm just doing 720 by 540. Notice my background there. I'm actually going to make that black. So let's say you're starting out with a white or black background. And as you saw on the screen before, I'm going to make a tennis ball here. So first thing I want to do is create a new layer. I want to do this on its own layer. So I'm going to go down to the bottom in my layers window, click on create a new layer, but I'm also going to hold shift when I do it, because if I don't, watch what happens. If I just click on it, then it gives me this window. If you want to avoid having that window pop up first, then just hold down shift and click new layer and it'll just show up. So now we have a background layer and a layer on its own. So to start the process of creating a tennis ball, I'm going to use my ellipsis or ellipse select tool. I'm just going to make a circle to the best of my ability there. Perfect. And then I already have a color selected in the background here. I'm going to switch those over by clicking these little arrows here. So now my foreground color, my active foreground color, is the color of a tennis ball, or close to it. Grab my paint can. Boom. Okay, so we got the color of the tennis ball. Now we also need to have those little stripes, right, going around each side. So now what I can do is Shift Control A to deselect everything. I'll do these on their own layer as well. So I'm going to click a new layer again. Hold down shift, click new layer. So in layer one, I'll start making the stripe on the left-hand side. And probably the easiest way to do that would, again, be to grab the selection tool and just kind of make a selection area over here, maybe about there. And we'll just fill that in. We'll click on the active foreground color. We'll fill that in with white, of course, or darn near close to it, right? Click OK. Grab my fill bucket tool. Fill that in. And remember, it's on its own layer, so it's not affecting the ball underneath it at all. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll click another layer here. I'll click another new layer. I'll just duplicate this layer. How about that? Let's make sure we're on this layer with the white area. And let's duplicate that by, I think there's duplicate down below. Yeah, create a duplicate of the layer right here. It's the two documents, one over the other, in the bottom of your layers window. Click there. So now we have a duplicate of it. So we can grab our move tool and move this duplicate over here. And line them up as close as you can. That's probably pretty good right there. Okay, so now what we want to do is create the stripes after we've added the color into the white ellipses there. So I'm going to start on this layer here, over here on the left, layer 1. And what we can do is we can select that area with our fuzzy select tool. And notice here it's selecting that. And then if we go up to select and choose shrink, we can shrink that selection a little bit, that selection area. In this case, I'm going to do 7 pixels. So I'm going to bump that up by 1. And notice there it did shrink the selection area. And now I could just hit delete. So it'll delete the center of that without deleting the stripe there that I want to create. Same thing over here. I'm going to go here to layer 2 now. Grab my fuzzy select. Select that area on layer 2. Again, we're going to go to select, choose shrink, and we're going to use 7 pixels. Click OK. Hit delete. Boom. Now you've taken care of the center core of those two colors. Shift Control A to deselect. Now here's a really cool trick that you can do. Go back to your tennis ball layer, use your fuzzy select the tennis ball area, but then we're going to go to a new layer. But before we do that, we have to choose what's called invert of our selection. So we're selecting the ball, but then now if we choose invert, it's going to select everything around the ball instead of the ball. So select, make sure you choose invert. Let's try that again. So now we're selecting the ball. Now we're going to select invert. And now we're getting everything outside of the ball, right? So now I can go to layer 1, grab my eraser. And on layer 1, I can erase to my heart's content without worrying about erasing anything in the ball because I'm on a different layer. So here I'm just erasing the white stripe there that I created. And notice there it got on in the ball a little bit there. So I'll have to go inside the ball and recolorize that a little bit, I think. Or no, better yet, I can just turn off the selection when I'm done. So I pretty much got everything. So now I can Shift Control A, turn off the selection, and then just erase it because that was outside of the selection area. Now I can do the same thing with layer 2, but first I got to go back to the tennis ball layer. Select the tennis ball. Now again, if I just go straight to this layer and start trying to erase, watch what happens. It's erasing the inside. I don't want to do that, right? What did I forget to do? Well, I forgot to choose invert. So go to select, invert. Now I'm selecting everything on the outside of the ball. So now I can go to layer 2 and erase without worrying about losing anything inside the ball because it's affecting everything just outside of the ball. You don't even really have to invert if you're just on those layers, but it does help to get the shape. And then when you want to get the little inside area on that layer, you just turn off the selection area, Shift Control A to deselect it, and then just go ahead and get that. Remember, you won't affect the tennis ball because you're not on that layer. Okay, so once you have that done, then you can scrunch this down to one layer if you want. So let's do that right now. Let's go to the top layer here. We're going to go to layer. Let's see, what could we do here? Let's merge it. Well, we'll merge it down. That'll just merge it one layer at a time down. Do the same thing again. Layer, merge down. And now we have two layers. We have the tennis ball and the background layer. So what we're going to save out is just the tennis ball. So we're going to turn the eyeball off on the background and save out the ball without a background. Okay, so the way to do this, to make sure that there's no background, is to save it as a PNG file. Okay, make sure your background's turned off. Go up to File, Export or Export As. Notice here on the top under Name, PNG is already selected. So I'm just going to call this tennis ball. Oops, no space. Tennisball.png, that's what we need. I'll just save it right to the desktop. And that's it. Hit export. Hit export again. And you should be done. Okay, so if we look at there's a tennis ball right here, notice. And notice here when you look at it on the screen, there's no background behind it. And just as a true test to see if this worked, let's import this into our animation file. So I have an After Effects project open here with a tennis court. So now what we want to do is just bring the ball in. So we're going to File, Import. We're just going to import one file. And there's our tennis ball. But we want the one on the desktop that I saved, right? So let's go to that. There it is. It's a PNG file. That's what we want. Make sure, again, it's a PNG. Click Import. Okay, and there it is in our project folder window, tennis PNG. Let's drop this down into the timeline. Let's put it above the tennis court. Okay, make sure it's the top layer. And notice there it is, showing up without a background. So that's how you create an object in GIMP or Photoshop. save it out without the background visible, and make sure you save it as a PNG file, and that way you'll have success bringing it in with no background added to it.